welcome back. It's Crystal Wiley, founder of CM Simple Studies. I'm here today to share with you our Term 2 curriculum that we will be using, our curriculum and books. And it's been since the fall that I've recorded anything to talk with you guys. It's been a very full fall, and we are so grateful for so many things the Lord blessed us with during the fall. Including community with local people here in Idaho. And that has taken up a lot of our time and energy. So all that to say, let's get into what we will be doing in Term 2. I will show you a little bit about, I'll show you a little bit of what we have covered in Term 1, maybe that we will be continuing or dropping that did not work very well for us or our kids. I wanted to start out by saying that I'm still keeping my logbook. You guys know I use a simple moleskin, and then I draw the lines and I write down what we're doing throughout the term. So our kids took 8 classes at community, so I had to really pull back this fall in terms of what we were doing for like our morning circle and our lessons at home, because it got really busy and overwhelming real quick. And I didn't want us to burn out and do too much. So we found a really good balance, but our community classes, those 8 classes that each child is taking, is ending. So we are going to pick back up our studies at home, which is what I'll be sharing with you guys today. Also, I found this at the beginning of the year, and I think of Barnes & Noble, and it's super simple. It offers like just the blocks. I actually have an Anna Vance notebook planner that I will be breaking out for next year. I was super excited, but I found this and I was just like, this works really well. It's got the blocks and it works. And then our son uses his own planner. And some of you guys have asked for me to send you his planner pages, but I actually ended up just picking up one of these, and it's super simple for him to write down his things that he has every day and check them off. So there's that. Okay, so let's get started. Our morning circle for Term 2, we are continuing. It couldn't just happen. This has been such a blessing in our mornings talking about this. And before I go further, we do loop everything. I've had a few comments and questions. You guys have a lot of books and a lot of curriculum. How do you cover it all without the overwhelm? And I say, we do things once or twice a week. We don't plan something every single morning, every single day together. So there's that. Children's Homer, love reading through this with the kids. And then this term, we are reading the Mysterious Benedict Society. It's such a great book already. We're super excited about it. And I know there are more in the series, so we'll see if we continue with that. We finished Where the Mountain Meets the Moon because we've been studying Asia. And that was really great. So we are almost done with the Year of Miss Agnes. And this is more for my Form 1A student who's 2nd, 3rd grade. And then this term for their novels, I just kind of threw this in the morning circle thing, but Margaret Henry. So my son will be reading King of the Wind. Since this is kind of Middle Eastern, I believe, that's kind of flows in with our Middle Eastern Asia studies that we've been doing. And he loves horses. And then my daughter we will be reading through this together. So for Shakespeare, we have Macbeth. And this is the young readers Shakespeare. These are great for just overview and introducing them to the stories. This is one of my son's favorite Shakespeare plays. So this is just another way to present the same information as the audiobooks and the Usborne books and the actual plays themselves. Okay, and then speaking of like morning circle topics, we do poetry. We're doing Emily Dickinson. Again, this is our 2nd time with Emily Dickinson. Yay! And so my son has started working through the grammar of poetry. Now, I heard Matt Whitling speak at a conference this past summer. Amazing human, awesome guy. I just think he might benefit from Charlotte Mason lesson styles because the videos that we had to watch and the overwhelming information about poetry, while beneficial, was long and arduous. And it's not that we don't want to continue it. We do, but we are holding back a little bit on that. So my son has been reading Lyra Heroica, their poems throughout the 17, 18, and I think early 1900s, based on the history that we're studying. And then I also picked up Lyra Americana for him because he's almost done with Lyra Heroica. He loves poetry, loves reading it every day. These are just beautiful, beautiful wow, see, these are old books. I love getting old books though. Beautiful, a beautiful book. And he just reads one poem a day, especially because they are short, they are sweet. And so there is that. And let's see. Okay, so my son also does a personal devotional every morning. We've been doing this Strong in Spirit. He seems to like it. And it's very simple and sweet. And you know me, I like simple and sweet. And let's get into history because this is one of our favorite topics for sure. We love all of God's topics of conversation and education. But we are moving into Civil War time in the 1850s and then in the later 1800s. So my son is reading Lincoln, a photobiography. Great, wonderful book. If you haven't picked it up before, we've had this on our shelves for years, and my son is obsessed with presidents, so he really enjoys this. And he sits down and writes his narrations after each time, and he reads this about once or twice a week, and by the end of the term, he will finish that book. And then actually for history, I did have to split up our children this year. So my Form 1A, which is 2nd, 3rd grade, and then my Form 3 student, who he is roughly 7th grade. When we're talking about wars and battles, it's a little much for our 3rd grader. And she's not really ready to dive into those topics yet. So I split up their history. So my son and I are reading through the story of the world. I did this, I think, when he was in kindergarten and 1st grade, and then dropped it and found other Charlotte Mason Living books to go through history with him. But we picked it back up this year, and this is volume 4, and we're having a great time with it. And then he just orally narrates after that, or does a written narration. And then my daughter, actually, we picked up Knotgrass history. This is part 2. We did part 1 in term 1. And so these are great. They're just simple stories. I had never picked up Knotgrass until now. And they're great. They're a little bit more difficult to do oral or written narration, or well, for her, a picture narration, and then she would dictate it back to me. I don't recommend these for doing your narrations. They are a little disjointed sometimes with the way they present information. However, and she never really wants to do any of the extra, like they have review questions, hands-on history ideas. Sometimes we do those, and then the lesson activities. We will actually listen to the songs from these books every time we go through a lesson, which are great. But we do read living picture books for our history as well. So this is just to merely present the information, and then we jump into picture books and biographies and stuff. Speaking of Knotgrass, and one of the classes I teach at our community is Notebooking Through Asia. So our students have been doing that all semester, and it's amazing, and their notebooks are turning out so incredible. And on top of that, my daughter is doing the Knotgrass 50 States. We do 1 or 2 lessons a week. They're pretty short, they're pretty simple. She doesn't always do the coloring book pages, but it's a great, just basic introduction to all 50 states, and we've enjoyed that as well. Okay, getting into reading and copy work and writing. Where is that other one? Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry, hold on. Okay, so My son is taking a novel writing course. He's also doing engineering and personal finance at our community, among a few other things like archery and literature. And so he has a lot on his plate already. So for copy work, which technically by Form 3, they kind of stopped copy work, but I didn't want him just doing novel writing and no other type of handwritten work. So he is doing the President's Copy Workbook from the handwriting company. And he did the Danielin, if that's how you say it, copy work his whole education. So he has stuck with that. This works really well. My daughter, on the other hand, I actually picked this up because at our community there is a cursive a little class that she takes with her friends, and it's actually really sweet. I tried forever for her to work with the Getty Dubé handwriting books, and she just never fell in love with them. However, I knew in her heart of hearts, she is my crafty, very creative child. So I knew cursive was going to be really good for her, and she has done really well. She wants to please the teacher, and so that's gone really well. And now she writes everything in cursive, and that is a blessing because we jumped straight from barely wanting to write print to just writing everything in cursive. That's been a blessing. She is still working on her reading, so we picked up these Elson readers, and actually it's called the Ello box. It's a subscription box, and they send you a few books each month, and then she reads aloud, and there is an app that listens to her while she reads, and she gets points. And but we only do that, they only send 5 books, so we'll do that for 1 week. She reads 1 book a week, and then the rest of the time we are reading these readers. These are great, sweet little readers. So, and she is blossoming in her reading and doing really well. We will be doing this for her, just starting slowly in, this is a Simply Charlotte Mason Using Language Well, and then they have Spelling Wisdom. I don't know where that went. I have it out here somewhere, but the Spelling Wisdom book is the one that they actually write in. I think, nope, this is the one my son worked in when he was 3rd grade, 4th grade. So he used this. I loved it. We've gone back and forth from using it over time, but I'm going to be breaking this out for my daughter as well. And you basically are reading aloud a sentence, discussing the grammar a tiny bit, and then the student studies that sentence with their eyes. They picture it in their minds, and then you turn around and read it back to them, and then they write it down in their own handwriting. So they're great. They're amazing. Our son has been doing the Greek alphabet, and then he was doing classical roots. I didn't bring that book because he's done with that book, and we are now for term 2 we're going to try to start using Easy Grammar. This seemed like a great, just solid program that he will be able to do independently and just beef up on the grammar that he already knows how to use. Let's see. Okay, for science, we've been really lacking in the science area outside of nature study this term 1. So term 2, we are starting for my 7th grader, the general science, which this is recommended for 7th and 8th graders to go through before they go into the more specifics. We've been reading Wonderful Universe, Objects in Motion. Sorry, I didn't bring those books, but he needs something a little more robust that he can start diving into, because some of the living books that we've used, he begrudgingly reads, and that's not great. So I'm actually going to be working through this with him. I think it's more of a connection issue. When you're working on scientific topics, you want to work with someone. And so I'm excited to be diving into that with him. We will see how that goes. And then for my daughter, again, we've been focusing still on nature study because in 2nd and 3rd grade, there's, other than introducing them to scientific topics, we've been working through forest creatures, and that's been delightful. Of course, this is my product, Simple Studies. And let's see, she's done a little bit of like daily science stuff, or we will watch scientific videos, but we won't be getting super robust into science with her until her 4th grade year next year, or 3rd, 4th grade. Okay, math. My son is still working through Saxon, 8-7. And then we finished this. So what I did with my daughter is we did all second grade review, and it worked out so well. So now, so she finished this entire second grade Math with Confidence book. And sorry, this isn't it. This is the teacher guide. But she is now super confident. That's funny, Math with Confidence, about math. And so leaping into third grade math, which typically you've got things like multiplication, she is solid. We've been memorizing her math facts, and then finishing up this book as well as a review. This is the Simply Charlotte Mason one. And Rachel, I don't even know how to say her last name very good. Babarina, I don't know. But Rachel is super sweet. I've spoken to her a few times on Instagram, and she is just delightful. She knows the ins and outs, and I highly recommend these books. My daughter is an extremely mental math solver. I don't know how to say that correctly, but she loves the questions in these books. And as you can see, they are laid out wonderfully. I think if you're familiar with things like Stray or Upton, this would be really good for you too. But if your child has a harder time writing answers versus verbally answering them, or if you want them to be stronger in their mental math, this would be great for your kids. And then since we studied Asia, I did pick this up from The Good and the Beautiful, but this, you guys, I don't use this as our spine because I don't feel the flow is very mastery or even spiral oriented. It's supplemental in my opinion, but it's a great supplemental. It's a great supplemental workbook. So, and if you use this as your main math, that's totally great. For us, we wanted more of a spine. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, I guess I will say one more thing that did not work for us that I picked up and I was excited thinking it would work was spelling UC. And I get it. A lot of people love this, but my daughter just totally, and especially because it was animals, what you do is you literally write the same thing over and over again and point out, different, consonants and vowels, and you're highlighting things, but it was just so basic to her, not a living curriculum or book, that it got really dry really quick. So if you've been considering this, I just want to give you a heads up. If you're a Charlotte Mason homeschool, it may or may not work for you, and it's totally fine if it does. It did not for us. Okay, so let's see. Getting into a little bit of citizenship. Our son has read, well, let's see, he did Animal Farm. I guess that's citizenship for his novel, but How to Be Your Own Selfish Pig. This has been great. He's got 2 more chapters left, and then we will be moving on. I'm not really entirely sure if we will try to replace that necessarily, but we are picking up Christian Theology and Ancient Polytheism. Where did I get this? Brimwood Press. And what you do is you're actually reading through this book, Secret of the Scribe. And I've read through I've read through the first few lessons and why it's important to read polytheistic history and tales and stories. If you think about exposing our kids to Greek and Norse mythology and Roman mythology, and my son has constantly been questioning me, if we believe in God, why are we studying these civilizations who believed in multiple gods? So I went on a hunt and I found this, and I think it's going to beautifully show him the glory of our God and truth through studying polytheism. So, okay, there's that. And then let's see, finally we have, he has the personal finance. It's a Dave Ramsey course that he's been taking in our community, and it's been wonderful, such a blessing. But then once that's over here in a couple weeks, he's gonna be jumping into Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. The 3rd chapter's on inflation, guys. I mean, I think it's pretty on point with where we're at, which is great. We are almost done with the fallacy detective. I actually teach this class at our community. It's been incredible, and we incorporate escape rooms and brain teasers, and then we go over the fallacies, and it's so funny to watch my son try to call us out on our fallacies when we're having discussions or disagreements. And then for his coach actually is asking him to read Mental Toughness for Young Athletes. And I read through the entire book. It's fine. It's written actually by a 13-year-old, but there's nothing questionable in this. If you're looking for something to build resilience and grit in your students, this is a great one. It's a basketball perspective, and my son plays baseball, but I think it seems great. It's something that mom did not assign, so I think it works really well. Okay. Last but not least, another thing I've been reading through because I really want to expose our kids to the best books possible in the short time that we have with them. And I'm sure you've heard of Honey for a Child's Heart, I think is what it's called. But anyway, Gladys Hunt also writes Honey for a Teen's Heart. And this has book list upon book list upon book list for your teens. And this is the one that I regularly started to go to now that my son, he'll be 13 here in a little while. And so if you're looking for wonderful, classic, good, beautiful books, this is a great recommend. I highly recommend this if you are looking for a book with book lists. So, all right. Finally, I did want to say, you're like, wow, that's a lot of random curriculum and whatnot, is that we use Ambleside Online. We use the CMEC. We also, I look at lists off things like the plenary, I think CM plenary, and then I also just, and Simply Charlotte Mason, of course, and then I combine all of those and look and see what would best fit my children based on their learning style. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, it's so great talking to you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and also have a wonderful Christmas. All right, see you next time.